Tyler from Aspire Sports, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about 5 wide receivers that are being drafted later than what they should be based upon current ADP. Now, ADP, like I say, is not totally fleshed out, will be in the coming month, so make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all the latest content that will help you win your league. So, 5 wide receivers. I did make a video on 5 running backs. I actually made 2 videos because there's a lot of later running backs that I think are going to be good values, but you can check out those videos above. I'll link it here. So let's go ahead and get into the video. So the first person that I want to talk about, first wide receiver that I believe is going lower than what he should be, is Michael Thomas. Last year was horrible. If you drafted Michael Thomas, obviously it's very disappointing, and kind of when you draft somebody like that, it makes you not want to draft them again because there's trust issues. But with Michael Thomas, I believe that you should just totally throw out last year. Was basically hurt the whole year. Prior to that, everybody considered him as one of the best wide receivers in the NFL and still is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. He has Jameis Winston. A lot of people like to hate on Jameis. He's going to be the starting quarterback. But Jameis Winston had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, who he made into fantasy studs. I believe he's going to do the same with Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is going to bounce back in a big way this year, and currently he's being drafted as wide receiver number 9. So I would take him over a couple of these other guys like Justin Jefferson. Honestly, DK Metcalf is going a little bit higher. I'll get into that a little of a different video a little bit later on, but these are guys that honestly I like. I like Michael Thomas over. So Michael Thomas for me is a must draft, is somebody that is very high on my board and I think is going to bounce back in a big way. So Michael Thomas, number 1. And the second wide receiver that I'm going to talk about is going to be Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is currently being drafted as wide receiver number 16. Amari Cooper goes later than what he should in every single draft, every single year. So last year was a top 20 guy. Despite, like I talked in the video, running back video with Ezekiel Elliott, everything that went wrong for Dallas, that could go wrong for Dallas last year, went wrong. And despite all that, still finishes a top 20 guy. The year prior was a top 10. This year, he was top 20. But if you go and look at when he was traded, basically from week 9 onward, he was wide receiver number 11 that year after he got traded from Oakland. So since he's been in Dallas, he's been a top 10 guy, essentially with Dak healthy. So I would love to have Amari Cooper at where he's currently being drafted. I think that's absolute value, and I would take him. And I'll hammer this all season long. Off season, you draft value. And currently he's being drafted as a value pick, and he's somebody that you should consider drafting. So second person, Amari Cooper. And the third wide receiver that I'm going to talk about is going to be Juju Smith-Schuster, who is currently being drafted as the 29th wide receiver off the board, and the third wide receiver for Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh, they got Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Juju. Last year, when Chase Claypool came on the scene in week 7 and basically started for them, Juju Smith-Schuster was a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy football from week 7 on. Last year, he still finished as wide receiver 25, 17 in full point PPR, and especially for full point PPR leagues, I like Juju a lot. Now, Pittsburgh is going to run the ball a little bit more than what they did last year. I think that they're going to be better at running the football than what they were, especially later in the season where they pass the ball a lot. But they're still going to throw the ball a decent amount. And Juju is their slot guy. Now, I know that there's been reports that he's going to move out to the outside a little bit more. But that, to me, is when they go to 2 wide receiver sets, he's going to play on the outside, which is better. That's very good. Instead of having Deontay and Chase out there, I think Juju's going to be out there. So I like Juju a lot. And the fact that you're getting him as basically your wide receiver number 3, I would love to have Juju, especially in a full point PPR, as my third wide receiver all day. So Juju Smith-Schuster, wide receiver number 3 for me. And the fourth wide receiver that I'm going to talk about is going to be Brandin Cooks. Now, to me, I don't care if Deshaun Watson plays or not this year. For Brandin Cooks, I will take him regardless. I'd imagine if we get word clarity that he is going to play, Brandin Cooks will probably move up a little bit, but I don't expect him to move up like a lot, and he's still going to be value at that point. And if he doesn't play this year, Deshaun Watson, Brandin Cooks will probably even fall even later, and that's just going to be even better value. Brandin Cooks last year was a top 20 guy. He finished top 20, and that's with Will Fuller. No Will Fuller. Who do they have? They have nobody. Kiki Cutie, Randall Cobb. They drafted Nico Collins. Nico Collins for me was more, he's raw. He still has a long way to go. Brandon Cooks has just been, he's been money basically his entire year, his entire career in the NFL, has been a top 20 guy. He's always somebody that's drafted, once again, later than what he should be going. And I don't care, like I said, if Deshaun Watson plays or not. He's a number one wide receiver on a maybe the worst team in the league right there with Detroit. So a team that's going to have to throw the ball a lot. Sign me up all day. I will take Brandon Cooks as my wide receiver number 3, wide receiver number 4. Yes, please. I will take that all day. So Brandon Cooks, the 4th wide receiver for me. And the 5th wide receiver that I'm going to talk about is going to be Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson currently is being drafted right around Brandon Cooks, wide receiver number 35. Robbie Anderson last year was 9th in the league in targets. This year, there's no Curtis Samuel. They also have Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is currently the quarterback for the Panthers. And Sam Darnold, Robbie Anderson played together in New York. So I expect that there's going to be this early rapport there between the two of them. Robbie Anderson last year was very good. Towards the beginning of the season was very good and then kind of fizzled out a little bit. But this year with no Curtis Samuel, I expect him to be even better as the season progresses, rather than just being hot early on and then kind of fizzling out. And like I said, that early rapport with him and Sam Darnold, I think is going to be key. I think DJ Moore is going to be fine, but currently I'd probably rather have Robbie Anderson where he's currently being drafted. DJ Moore honestly is being drafted pretty good though as well. I still like DJ Moore, but Robbie Anderson, he's my 5th wide receiver, and then I'm just going to throw in one bonus wide receiver. The last receiver that I'm going to talk about is going to be Elijah Moore. Now, I know that Jamison Crowder is coming back with the team. There's talks that he'd possibly be traded. But if we know one thing about Jamison Crowder, he hasn't been the healthiest. There's also been reports coming out of camp that Elijah Moore is really impressing the Jets organization. And honestly, for me, he was one of my favorite prospects at the wide receiver position coming out of this draft. There's apparently also been rumors that him and Zach Wilson have had a pretty good rapport with each other. So I like Elijah Moore a lot. I think he's going to be very good. Might not be that great as at the start of the season, but as the season progresses and when Jamison Crowder inevitably gets hurt, he'll come on, be their slot receiver, and I think he's going to be pretty solid, especially for somebody that's being drafted like super late, like in the 70s. So as basically he's not being drafted in a lot of your standard leagues. So Elijah Moore is the last person that I'm going to talk about. And that does it for the video. If you like this content, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Really appreciate it. Thank you for watching and have a great day.